The question of the auction is actually something which we have not considered head on. We are looking as far as practicable and as far as we can get the necessary permissions or the necessary approvals to exhibit it not too far in the future. But as far as the auction is concerned, this is a question that we would like to um, perhaps defer to after we do an exhibit of the collections. There has been to a certain extent indications that they are not averse to any exhibit, but so far as I personally am concerned, whether or not they're averse to the exhibit or whether or not they approve of it should not enter the equation in our decision-making process. So far as the PCGG is concerned, they have no say. There are three collections so far as we're talking about so far as we talk about the Marcos jewelry. Two of these collections have been forfeited or are the properties of the Philippine Republic. So there are no issues concerned so far as two of the collections are concerned. One of the collections, I should say, is part of a case pending before the Sandigan Bayan. And this particular case, so far as the jewelry is concerned, we have filed a motion for partial summary judgment asking that they be forfeited in favor of the Republic. If we get that resolved before the exhibit in our favor, then there should no longer be any question as to even that collection. But in any case, if we include that particular part of the collection in any exhibit, we will make sure that we will get or that we will get the permission or the approval of the Sandigan Bayan, because at the moment this would be considered as under litigation. You know how it is in a system like ours. They can perhaps try to get an injunction for one reason or another, but so far as we're concerned, for instance, the Romeliotes collection, this was the part of the collection that was seized by the Bureau of Customs when one of our associates, a Greek individual called Romeliotes, tried to spirit them out of the country. They were seized by the Bureau of Customs, is under the authority of the Bureau of Customs, and as far as I am aware, the Supreme Court has already ruled with finality that these were forfeited in favor of the Republic. There were attempts in the past by our predecessors, but for one reason or another, you're right, it has never actually pushed through. I'm sorry, I'm really not aware of the reasons why. Perhaps political climate, political considerations. There might have been other reasons I'm not privy to. This is actually the first time that the current composition of the commission is considering putting out an exhibit on the Marcos jewelry, of the Marcos jewelry. I am speculating here, of course, but I do not think that in the previous incarnations of the commission that there was actually a resolution already to have the jewelry exhibited. I know for a fact that there were some commissioners who were in favor of it, but I am not aware of any resolution or formal resolution of the commission and bank that approved such an exhibit before our time. I think one of the things that may have gotten lost in the most recent media attention on the possibility of an exhibit is the fact that messaging is very important. And so far as we in the commission are concerned, the messaging is the primary objective. That, you know, we're not looking to exhibit the Marcos jewelry as a Philippine version of you know, the crown jewels or anything like that. But we're looking at it to convey historical lessons. The fact that these were assets which were products of plunder, products of ill-gotten wealth, and that so far as they can give the message that there was a time in our history when public officials or public servants abused their authority and at the expense of people suffering in poverty and indignities, then that's a message I think worth conveying to the public. And insofar as the current Aquino administration has always trumpeted that it is for transparency and for accountability, then any exhibit of this sort, so long as the messaging comes across, is for me appropriate for the times. One of the possible venues that we are looking at is the National Museum. Of course, there are considerations, logistical aspects that we have to thresh out, including security, insurance, a number of those nitty-gritty things that make up an exhibit of this sort. But one of the considerations is perhaps at the National Museum. Yes, I really don't think that if there will be fees to be levied, it would be of astronomical value or whatever, and that is something that might be subject to discussion, depending on which particular agencies actually participate actively in such an exhibit. We of course know that this is not something that we can undertake in isolation. For instance, we do not have the curatorial expertise, and we will have to go to the National Museum for that. And the National Museum has actually already responded favorably to our queries in terms of being able to extend us assistance so far as curatorial and technical expertise is concerned. But whatever proceeds, for instance, which will be are part of any collection, this will go to the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program. Our remittances, our recoveries, all go to the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program. The Commission is the first institution or the first agency created by former President Corazon Aquino. It predates the 1987 Constitution. 2 days after EDSA, she created the Presidential Commission on Good Government by virtue of Executive Order Number 1 in 1986. And the mandate of the Commission is precisely, among other things, to recover ill-gotten wealth of the Marcos couple, their relatives, close business associates, cronies, and other like individuals. So far as the Marcoses are concerned, there have been forfeiture cases against them in the past, and perhaps I should just give you the best example would be the forfeiture of the Swiss accounts. And the Supreme Court decision, when it declared the monies in the Swiss accounts forfeited in favor of the Republic, looked at how much wealth, income, and other sources of monies the Marcoses had before they came into power, when they were occupying public office, and came up with an amount. And so any asset in excess of that amount, they had to explain the provenance of. And if they could not explain where the monies came from to the satisfaction of the court, then this would be considered ill-gotten wealth. And that is precisely what happened. These assets, including the jewelry, are valued at far more than what they were entitled to, or what they had declared as their legitimate income. So that is the basis for the sovereign claim on ill-gotten wealth. If and when we eventually decide to auction, if we decide to auction the jewelry, I think any auction house would acknowledge the fact that beyond the mere value of jewelry, the notoriety involved in terms of previous owners would definitely play a part in the ultimate valuation of anything for sale. This might change, of course, but we are looking to exhibit the jewelry if we get the necessary approvals. We are looking to exhibit the jewelry, if not at the end of the year, at least before the next anniversary of the commission, and that's February. we're currently looking at comprehensive staff, if you will, before we present the plan to the Office of the President. And we're looking at endorsements from various agencies who have actually been able to respond and to tell us whether they're in support of it or not, or that these are the reservations or the considerations that we need to take into account. And so far as that is concerned, we've talked to, or we've communicated with the Department of Finance, because this is the agency in charge of the Bureau of Customs, and the Romeliotes collection is under the authority of the Bureau of Customs. We've talked to the Department of, or should I say, we've communicated in writing with the Department of Tourism and the National Museum, as well as the Banco Central, which actually houses in their vaults the jewelry collections. So we've talked to these agencies, and so far as we're concerned, we need at this point to thresh out other issues such as security, insurance, how much it'll cost, venue, and once we have all these facts in hand, we hope to be able to communicate a comprehensive plan to the Office of the President. In their responses to our initial exploratory communication, there hasn't been an agency which has been outrightly opposed, but the agencies I've mentioned have actually proffered a number of useful suggestions in terms of making sure that the venue is a place which we can secure, because after all, these are valuable assets which hopefully can translate into monies for the Philippine Republic. So we need to secure them, and of course we won't be doing our due diligence work if we simply allow the exhibit without taking into consideration the security risks, the risk of theft, the risk of anything going missing, etc. Those are obvious concerns. Of course, there has also been suggestions or recommendations so far as the messaging goes, that this is not going to be something that can be apolitical, in the sense that they are, of course, linked to, or the jewelry are, of course, whether we like it or not, linked to a particular period in our history which is very controversial up to now. And there might be, objections from supporters of the Marcos family itself. These are certain considerations that we have to, or these are issues or factors that we have to consider. But so far, I have to say that there has not been any violent objection so far as the agencies that we've asked are concerned. There have been concern, or there have been issues of concern that have been flagged, and which we hope to be able to address. One of these things, of course, is to make sure that we are not aggrandizing any of the plunder in the past, and we hope to be very careful when we curate, when we curate this exhibit, that the correct message, especially for the post-EDSA generation, is actually communicated. I have to say, any touristic value, I think that might have been highlighted too obviously in recent times. Any touristic value, for me personally, is of secondary importance. Any amount which might be generated because of any exhibit, that's of secondary and incidental importance. For me, it's really the messaging that will be of primary concern, so far as we're concerned.